Hey, it's me, Narrative, and this is a review on the Figma Doom Slayer from the game Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is a very special game to me. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. Its high-speed and action-packed gameplay makes it an unforgettable experience. Can we say the same for this figure? We'll see. Anyways, the box displays the figure proudly on the front and the various logos are on here as well. The Good Smile Company. Good thing they didn't name themselves the Good Price Company, am I right? Yes, I'll be here all week. Images of the figure on the sides of the box can be seen, and the back of the box is what I'd like to call a blatant display of false advertising, but I'll get to that later. With all that out of the way, let's move on to the figure itself.
Hey, where are you going? Hey, is this about the good price joke? I was just kidding, not the face!
Out of the box, the figure has a good likeness to the main character. First off, the proportions are slightly stylized to say the least. The arms are too far apart from the main body, like the Slayer has huge arms in the game, but they were still part of the main body. And this is due to the joints that they used for the arms. Because of these tiny ass joints, they had to make a compromise that resulted in the arms being too far apart and the shoulder armor being oversized. I don't think that the designers made the right compromises in regard to this aspect of the figure. They definitely could have used a different joint setup as seen from this modified version of the figure from the YouTuber ZygoArt, wherein they used Vitoy's arms in order to improve the proportions. I do believe it's largely attributed to the fact that Figma just wants to use their own Figma joints. But yeah, this just comes at the detriment of the proportions. Furthermore, the arms also suffer from this distracting color mismatch in the elbow joint. And the sad part is that this wouldn't be too much of an issue if they didn't show the prototype with the correct color shade. And another thing, this figure was delayed for several months, so I don't understand what went wrong here. Bit of a nitpick here, but I would like to point out the head. The head, I think, is a bit squashed. Like, I just can't imagine a human head fitting on there. And that's because Figma decided to not include an unmasked head sculpt. Oh boy. Why, Figma? The Slayer's face was prominently featured in the game. He isn't Master Chief. And that's not calling him out or anything.
Son of a bitch.
It's just that this is a very distinct aspect of the character. The final area that is relatively inaccurate is the equipment launcher. It appears as though Figma took more inspiration from this line art rather than the in-game cutscenes. In the in-game model and cutscenes, the equipment launcher is in a different configuration. I know I'm sounding a bit nitpicky here, but this figure costs $120 US, and it deserves to be judged on that price point. Let's move on to one of the figure's strong points, articulation, which is what I would have said if the figure wasn't a loosey-goosey pile of joints. Joint tolerances for this thing are all over the place. It took me a ton of white stuff just to patch up the legs and arms alone. Who was in charge of the QA department? Literal fucking demons? The head can look up that far, exposing this fiddly little neck joint. Yeah, this guy has no neck. The character in-game has an exposed neck portion to show that a guy is inside the armor. They did this to improve articulation, but if you're posing this guy with its head to the side or remotely looking up, you're gonna see this weird gap or the ball joint itself. The head can look down that far and side to side has no issue, though the collar can get in the way. But if you want to, you can extend the neck joint and go around. However, I don't recommend it. The shoulder armor is on a separate hinge and ball socket connection, ensuring that it isn't in the way for most poses. Again, anywhere that isn't the dead front is a gappy mess. Arms can rotate with no issues. Deep double-jointed elbows. The forearms can swivel and the arms can go up that far. There is a deep butterfly joint that allows the arms to go forward. Wrists can rotate and hinge. Ab rotation is excellent. Ab crunch is fairly deep and ab extension is solid. For the legs, we'll be using the included Figma stand. Legs can go forward that far. Double jointed knees and the kneecaps are on a separate ball joint. They're a bit loose, though that can be ignored. Legs can go out that far. Boots can hinge and swivel, though movement is impeded by the ankle armor. Now the legs aren't bad, again save for the looseness out of the box, but their movement is limited in a weird way. Unless these legs are moving from the dead front and side, you're going to have a bad time. Because the way that the thighs are sculpted, they tend to collide into the belted waist section. This wouldn't be a problem if Figma followed through on the separate waist armor joints, but I digress. The way that the waist armor is connected is much more solid, but they can only move out ever so slightly. There is a solution here that I would like to propose: drop down leg joints. Come on, this technology has been present for years, and this is the easiest solution in the whole damn world. Again, $120 plus a delay. Accessories. This figure comes with a ton of hands. These hands are made to hold the 4 main weapons that this figure comes with, and an extended version of the equipment arm launcher. Before I forget it, the figure comes with a dedicated thumbs up hand to recreate this death scene in-game. It can also be a thumbs down hand. As for the equipment arm launcher, I no longer need it. I made a cut in the shorter arm so that the equipment launcher can rotate and extend without the need for part swapping. Be aware that this joint is prone to breaking. Just get some silicone grease at the ready. The Doom Blade has 2 dedicated molds, the folded and extended version. It's relatively simple enough to swap out and peg into the arm. The Super Shotgun is incredibly detailed and molded excellently, though the hands made for it have a loose grip, and the meat hook attachment is sadly non-functional. Next is the titular chainsaw, held in the Slayer's hand, and it has a well-hidden secondary handle that the close-gripped hands can hold onto. I honestly wished it was more blood-stained and weathered, but hey, it's still pretty good. The blades do not rotate sadly. And this is the BFG. Solid likeness to the game. Wished it could have lit up, but the gradients they used in painting the lights managed to capture the effect well enough. Lastly, this is the Slayer's Crucible. It's good, but it could have been better. Some white and orange paint would have brought out more of the engravings along the blade, making it stand out more. But it may have something to do with the fact that painting on clear plastic is a bit challenging.
All women are queens. If she breathes, she's a god!
Do note that these accessories are great, but I still kind of want more. And I know it's impossible for them to do the other weapons, like each firearm comes with 2 mods each. That's going to be a challenge of ultra nightmare difficulty to make. But the figure still could have come with more, like where's the Hellbreaker or the Sentinel Hammer, maybe effect parts for the Flame Belch, an unmasked head sculpt. See, as many as these current accessories are, they're still lacking. Now for some size comparisons. The figure stands at about 160 millimeters.
Hey, what is that? My head.
Overall, the Figma Doom Slayer is a disappointing mess. The best way to put it is that it feels like a modern AAA game release. It overpromised its quality, it got delayed for several months, and released with relatively mid-fanfare. And that wasn't what Doom Eternal was at all. It was a great game from release and was completely solid, especially from a company like Bethesda. The saddest part about this figure is that objectively speaking, it's the best Doom Slayer figure in the market, which really isn't saying much. Its competition was two bricks, one big, one large, meaning to say that the competition was non-existent. I'm still holding out hope that maybe some other company can take a gander at this design before it gets overshadowed by the Dark Ages look. It's a good take on the Slayer, it's just that this design for him is more special to me since it introduced me to a great franchise. At most, we'll probably get a reissue of this guy similar to the Bloodborne The Old Hunters Figma items. By that time, hopefully Figma fixes the joint tolerances and adds more weapons to the mold. Sell it as the Ancient Gods pack. Relying on overpriced add-ons to fix the original item. Sheesh, this thing really does embody the modern AAA game release. Despite my negative views on the figure and how much I think it deserves to be ripped and torn apart for its transgressions, I still find myself playing with it a lot. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure figure and kind of shows how much I love this character and the game. Another reason why I won't be removing this guy from the collection is because I got him for a really good price. My copy is a used copy but I got him for $70, which should have been the SRP. And this wasn't an easy buy, I had to wait months just to find him at a fair price point. So good luck if you want to buy him on the second-hand market. And that's all from me. What did you think of this figure? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching. See ya next time for the 100 subscribers special.